All right, the Tampa Bay Bucks are off a solid win that puts them firmly not only in playoff contention, but in the playoffs. We're going to get into some of the numbers for the playoffs in this video. We're going to take a trip back in time. We're going to go back 7 days to a Baker Mayfield quote and an article that was written that talked about what the Bucks had to improve on in order to keep getting victories. And we're going to see how they did in this game on all of those things and what the recipe for success was. We're going to look at the rest of the schedule. But before we do that, you see here I got my Detroit Lions stuff on. We're Lions fans. We've never hid that here. But we love talking about teams that the national media kind of glosses over. And the NFC South seems to be full of those teams, to be completely honest with you. And the Tampa Bay Bucks often are forgot about in the middle of seasons, especially with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback. And he is a guy that should never be forgotten about. He's a player that you love to love. One of my really good friends is a huge Oklahoma Sooners fan. He is obsessed with Baker Mayfield. Are you, as a Bucs fan, do you feel the same way? Is Baker like this guy that as your quarterback, you love him? And that got me thinking, who is your favorite Bucs player of all time? All right, we're going to get into all this stuff, but first I had to say this. Back when the North was the Central, we played against the Bucs. So there were a lot of Bucs, to be honest with you, that I did not like, but there were some that I did. So are you more new school? Are you like, I love Mike Evans, I love Tom Brady, I love, and even Gronk, I know they're part-time Bucs. I get it. Or are you like from the different eras? Are you like a Derek Brooks? It kind of bridged the gap. Rondé Barber, Mike Allstott, all right? Were you that guy? Me personally, it might be Warrick Dunn for me. I know he came out of Florida State. He was a guy that I just really enjoyed watching run the football. He was a guy that it was like, I loved watching Barry for the Lions, and Warrick Dunn had some things that reminded me of Barry Sanders. So I think Warrick Dunn might be it. Tell me somebody who I haven't said. Joey Galloway, all right? Like Keyshawn Johnson. I don't know. All right, but there's been a lot of players. And then I'm just going to give a shout out to Brian Griese because he played there too. All right, so anyways, because I always like repping my Michigan players. So let's get into this. Let's go back in time to an article that was written after the victory last week. Here's what Baker Mayfield had to say. He said, and let me get this a little closer for you, all right? He said, "We will take wins. I don't really care how it looks." All right? He said he did not care how it looks. He said, but offensively, we'll have to be a lot more consistent for us to be able to make this push that we want to do, and we know that. He also added, there is a lot of ball left. We have to continue to get better. They need to continue to get better. It says here, and we all agree, he threw for 295 yards, but he also had a couple of interceptions. He was also under consistent pressure in that game against the Raiders. All right, the Raiders are not a great team. They had to play two different quarterbacks in that game. All right, but Baker Mayfield took 4 sacks. He had 2 interceptions. He was under consistent pressure. One good thing from that game, by the way, Rachaad White was like, hey, I can still be a running back, not just a receiving running back. All right, so it was said that they had to do that. What needs help? The offensive line has been doing a good job run blocking, which is the opposite of last year, but Baker's getting sacked a lot. All right, that needs help. All right. Also, can Jalen McMillan continue to do well? These are all the things that form success. So let's go ahead and take a look against the Chargers. What happened? All right, Baker Mayfield was efficient. We know Baker's going to sling it. Like, that's not a thing. But they threw the ball 27 times, and they ran it 39 times. I love that Bucky Irving and Rachaad White get equal carries. I love that. Two-headed. The best backfields in the NFL, period, are backfields that have 2 backs. That's just the way it goes. If you only have 1 back, they're getting tired by this time of year, as proof by the team you were playing against the Chargers. All right, J.K. Dobbins had come across as like he's really the only running back in that stable of running backs rooms. Gus Edwards looks like he's too long in the tooth. He's over the hill. It hit him. All right, Kamani Vidal is not ready yet. And look what they did here. It wasn't good. Also, the offensive line protected significantly better. That is a very good Chargers defensive line. Baker only took 1 sack, and he only had to rush twice. And they were very timely rushes. So, yes, all those things combine to go very well. Here's the other thing that you did super well. You made this Chargers offense one-dimensional. All right? No Chargers offense wants to throw at a 3-to-1 ratio. Jim Harbaugh is Mr. And you know I love me some Harbaugh, right? You got him right there. Signed picture, right? He is about run the football, control the clock, allow your defense to get your offense the ball back, and then your offense can keep the clock or keep them a little more rested. So all those things happened. But what might be the best thing out of all this is when you look at the playoff scenario, right? You still have the Lions, Eagles, and Vikings. They've all clinched. All right, the Buccaneers, outside of the Packers, have the greatest chance, playoff probability of 88% right here to make it. All right, and you're like, oh, well, how do they look at that? What does that look like? Where could they most likely finish? Where can they most likely finish? All right, well, if you look at this, I love this, playoffstatus.com. This is super cool. And it tells you what % chance every team has to finish in certain spots. All right, the Bucs are now a 61% chance to have the number 3. That is greatly increased from last year. The 3 seed is fantastic because it guarantees you a home playoff game. And if either the 1 or the 2 lose in week 2, you get another one, or depending on who wins, you might be able to. So anyways, there's a lot of things that go on to that. Anyways, we'll talk about it in a little bit. But the Lions also were like at a 90% here. Now they've dropped all the way to 61. Things can change quickly, but you have a really good chance. No playoffs is just 11%. And that's multiple factors. That is, I will admit, like that's multiple factors. But one of the factors for you guys is your remaining schedule, right? It's your % chance of winning the games that you have left. And when you look at the games that you have left, LA was by far the hardest game on the schedule. Now, Dallas played really well last week. All right, they did. They played well. I'm not going to knock them for that, but you go to Dallas, and then you have some home cooking against the Panthers and the Saints. You can't ask for a better 3-game stretch when your team wants to clinch. You're 8-6. This is a team that absolutely should go 11-6 down, to end the season. If they do what they said, I said earlier that this is a 10-7 or 11-6 team. It's starting to look like that. Look, you can't count your chickens before they hatch, but the team is doing exactly what Baker said. The difference in this game and the Raiders game is that with the Raiders, they let them hang around. A bad Raiders team. All right, they let them hang around until the very end. With this Chargers team, they put them away early in the third quarter. They put it away in the third quarter. Let me put it that way. Against a good team on the road. The Chargers, arguably, up to this point, have had the best defense in football, and you just hung a 40 burger on them. That's phenomenal. Now, there's one more thing that I want to talk about, and I'll talk about this in a lot. Mike Evans and his quest for another 1,000-yard season. There are 3 games left. He needs 251 yards. That's with missing 4 games. Since he's come back, his last 4 games, he's had 159 yards, 69 yards, 118 yards, and 68 yards. He's averaging over 100 yards a game since being back. If he continues on that pace, he will once again get 1,000 yards if he can stay healthy, just further cementing the fact that he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And by the way, when you look at the record books, all right, he right now is already all the way up to, and I don't know if you can see this, I can zoom in on it here for you. He's already all the way up to 24th in receiving yards all time. And when you look at what it would take, it's 2 more healthy seasons, and he is a top 10 player. Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Steve Smith Sr., Tim Brown, this is where he can end. And just to give you an idea of how good he's been, DeAndre Hopkins came into the league 1 year earlier than him, and he's within 500 yards of DeAndre Hopkins. That's how good. That's how good he has been. And in that same time span, he has more receiving yardage than Antonio Brown. He has more receiving yardage than Brandon Marshall. The guy he seriously has done some things. So I just wanted to give Mike Evans some love as well. All right, hey, thank you so much for watching. If you want more Bucs content, hit that subscribe button, and you'll know when we have more videos coming. All right, see you on the next one.